Alright, so let's talk about how Russian agriculture became what it is today. We are going to start out in 1861 when Alexander II decided to emancipate the serfs. And you can essentially think of the serfs as sort of a Russian form of slavery. They were unpaid workers. There wasn't necessarily a racial divide, however, it was definitely based off class. So the poor were traditionally extremely poor because they were unpaid, and the wealthy just gotten much wealthier because they didn't have to pay their workers. So eventually the slaves decided or realized that they greatly outnumbered the wealthy, and they were beginning to rebel. That's why Alexander II decided to free them, because he feared that they were going to overthrow the government. And this actually led to a lot of positives throughout Russia. However, it was not without its fair share of issues as well. Since these freed people, they didn't really own any land, and they had trouble finding jobs because of the stigma around them. Fast forward to 1906, and that was when the Salopian Land Reform was issued. This gave a lot of the freed slaves portions of land, and it set them up to have futures and jobs. There were a couple of different, actually quite a few different factors that went into this. The biggest of which was every head to household was allotted a certain portion of land so they could essentially do whatever they wanted with that. And much of this land came from the plantations or farms that they used to work on. So there was a steady increase throughout all of the 20th century. Russia was actually doing quite well as far as agriculture goes during this time compared to the rest of the world. However, if you go to the collapse of the Soviet Union, you're going to see a huge recession hit Russia, and the biggest impact was felt in the 1990s. There was all sorts of political issues. There was climate issues. There was lack of rain. So this led to a huge decrease in agricultural production that was still being felt up until about 2014 or 15. So up until very recently, Russia was recovering from this. So that essentially catches us up to speed to modern times.